Hi everybody, this is Jason Height, and we're going to talk about how I made this arm piece for my character. This is the Hierophant, and this is kind of like you should already know ZBrush if you're watching this. You should already. This is kind of a more intermediate to advanced level video, so I apologize because I'm going to be buzzing through things really quick, and if you don't know the basic UI, you're not going to know what the hell I'm doing. So. Anyway, this is a generic arm that you can get from the tool presets. It's actually, I cut it off from a body that was already pre-made because I'm a lazy fuck. And I just wanted something to work with. So, and then I cut the muscles with just a damn standard brush, you know, just kind of a light cut. You can see where I actually chopped it from the body there. And now I'm just kind of trying to just zoomed out overview kind of defining my larger details. So I wanted this to be kind of designed off of a human muscular structure because at the base of this guy, he is human. So once I established just the rough muscles, and I did look at reference for this to get the muscles right, because it's really tricky, especially in the arm, to figure out where all the muscles lay. So this is probably not 100% accurate muscle structure, but it's pretty close as far as how the muscles actually lay on the body. In the hand here, I'm taking some creative liberties. I want it to be more almost like a glove. Like there's, he's kind of wearing a suit over his skin kind of thing. So I'm just kind of roughly laying in shapes again. And this is at a pretty low poly count. The geometry is only at 1. And I like to just initially lay in, you know, rough details, kind of big picture details. I'm doing some knuckles here. This is sped up 4 times. And I'm doing a commentary because there's no way I don't like talking when I'm sculpting that much. I tend to sing when I sculpt, or I make different noises depending on what brushes I'm using and what strokes I'm doing. Anyway, okay, so here I am enlarging this hand. I felt like the hand was a little too small for my character, so I just hid the arm, and then I'm just gonna blindly, you know, just kind of get my sizing tool in place, and then I'm just going to stretch the hand here. I want to stretch it out and make it a little elongated. I'm not making it bigger width-wise, just length-wise. So it's stretched all the hand out. And you can see, because I'm doing it blindly, I'm not sure. I want to get that kind of lined up with the arm right. There's probably better ways to do this, but this is how I chose to. That was pretty close. It's close enough. And then because it's at a low poly count, it's really easy for me to go in and just kind of smooth it out. And now I've got a, you know, slightly elongated hand. And I want the fingers to be longer, but not necessarily the palm. That looks better to me already. The hand was looking really stubby before to me, so. Now going back in and just laying in more details. And I tend to kind of skip around. I use a lot of damn standard, and then I use a lot of the basic brushes to kind of build up details. So I'm just laying in knuckles here. I'm not sure why I started at the hand, but I guess that's what I chose to start with. A lot of different muscle groups here in the hand. Okay, so now let's see, where are we going here? Yeah, smooth out the features because I didn't want it to be too harsh. I just want overall structure. What the hell? I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. Sorry. I should probably edit that out, but I'm too lazy and I probably won't. Sorry. I really like listening to podcasts when I work or music. And Looks like I'm not doing anything here. I should just edit this whole section out. Okay, all right, so here, okay, so now I'm doing, kind of figuring out how to connect the wrist to the rest of the body. Or, I'm sorry, get some tendons going on in the hand area where we have those tendons underneath, and just refine muscle structure. The police are coming, probably for all this cocaine I have. That was a joke. All right, now just roughing in shapes with the standard brush. I really want to delineate here where the hand and the wrist meet, and have like some kind of almost like a flexible valve there, you know, kind of like just tubing, so it moves nicely when you use your hand or your wrist to move your hand. I think I spend a lot of time kind of trying to see what I want to do here and just looking at the arm. So now laying in more details. And really, when I start doing ZBrush, a lot of times I'm not necessarily in the mood to do it, but I need to get something done. So I will just sit down and I will just keep trying and trying and trying until I get that creative hook. Sometimes it takes me a while to get really into the groove. So I'm saving. And I don't think I knew what to do at this point, so I was just kind of fake it till you make it. And I like to just experiment. That felt good there, and you know, I will just keep drawing lines until I'm happy with the stroke that I've achieved. So that wasn't looking too bad there. So once I draw my strokes, I just will go in and erase the ends, or smooth out the ends there. That's what I'm doing there, smoothing it out. And if I draw lines like that, I like to have them so that they connect, so that they're not just flat onto the creature or whatever I'm doing. I like to have it go into a structure. So that's why I did negative. That's just damn standard negative to get those little loops that go in. And again, just more experimenting. If you keep doing horizontal lines in the same direction on the same muscle groups, it tends to not. It just wasn't working here for me when I was trying it. I was like, ooh, yeah, no, It helps to. I want to delineate these muscle groups so that we can see the muscle structure really well. And I know that I later on did away with those lines on the beyond the biceps there. Yeah, if you have the lines going in a different direction and that lead off of those lines, it looks more natural, and it reinforces that muscle structure that I'm going for, the muscle structure look. I like to use shift when I use especially my standard brush to get really straight lines. If you just hold shift while you're doing a line stroke, it's makes it perfectly straight. So now it looks like that piece is just going over the arm. And it's always a good idea when you're working on something inner detailing to just zoom out and look at the whole thing from time to time as you're working, just to see if there's anything. Here I'm just kind of messing with different looks that are broader picture. When you do such fine details, or at least when I do it, I tend to get lost sometimes and I forget what the hell the purpose of that was. So it's good to look out and see what you're doing. Here I want to try something different on the muscles, so I'm just experimenting with different brushes. And the brush that I'm using a bunch of brushes from, I can't remember his name. I think it's Pablo Gonzalez, and I'll put a link in the posting here on Patreon to show you the brushes I'm using. He has a Giger brush set, and these things save me a fuck ton of time because I can lay in really intense detail here. So I'm doing a light stroke, and then I hit the number 1 to repeat the stroke, and that's how I get, like, I can vary the depth of the stroke, and I really like that. So what I like to do is use his brush as a starting point, and then just continue it in the direction that I want. As you can see, I just use lightly his brush, and now I'm just continuing that on to get that look of that muscle. And again, every time I'm doing a muscle group, and when I finish some detail, I backed out. Oh, it looks like I erased that. That wasn't working for me at the time. Yeah, sometimes when I zoom out, I just don't see it, it's not working for me, so I'll try something different. And I was being really picky. That is a twist, SK twist. That's what I'm using right there to kind of isolate that detail. That looks cool. Yeah, I'm glad I went that direction. It's been probably a week or so since I did this, so it's not super fresh in my mind. And I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta do that voiceover before I forget what the hell I was thinking when I did these. And might be at the edge of that. So I'm just watching myself do this over again. And like, how did I do that? No. Again, I'm just completing the looks here off of the lines that I did off of Pablo's really amazing Giga brushes. So I'm fully cheating here, but what I love about ZBrush, and I say this every time I talk about it, it seems like it's just the speed that I can work in. I'm a traditional sculptor, and I sculpted traditionally for 20 years, and I'm getting older, and I don't have the patience or the body I had when I was in my 30s to just sit there and sculpt all day physically. So having ZBrush and using all these cheats is really awesome for an old man like me. And there's a level of perfection I can get in ZBrush that I can't get in reality because I'm just not. I'm good, but there's still things I could be better at in physical sculpting. But with digital, there's things that I can use that make me a better sculptor as far as the finished look. So thank you, machines, before you take over the world, for helping me. Once again, all my detail is to try that I do is to try and reinforce the muscle structure, the human muscle structure underneath. Well, I just can't get that line right. I think that's pretty good, yeah. Again, to make it look like that tube goes into another structure, I dug out that upper area on the shoulder. I really like to make it look like my detail isn't just laid on there. It needs to have a reason for being there, kind of. Like, where does this go? How does it start? Where does it stop? That kind of thing. It's kind of like a finishing. Over here. Yeah, damn standard. Yeah, now I'm really trying to define this structure a little better. And those are supposed to be like little ports, maybe. Just the hint of them. Maybe they're underneath the skin. And because it's this muscle group here, I decided it was getting really busy on the arm, so I decided to keep this area kind of simple and kind of plain by just putting a couple small, like almost like this is an outer armor piece. Yeah, it was too much there, yeah. So yeah, just simple, because it's, if you just have detail everywhere, and it's not, it starts to just look like texture, and I wanted to really delineate that this arm was made up of multiple different pieces, kind of, where you've got pieces on top of other pieces without actually making other pieces. I didn't want to extrude anything. I just wanted to sculpt it all in. Dam Standard here really nicely pushes it in to make it look like it goes underneath of this arm piece here. Trying to get some straight lines in there to make that look stronger. I'm really liking the flow of that. And I wanted to bring this little ridge out on this arm to kind of accentuate the structure here. Like maybe that's a hard bone piece that you could use if you were like if you raised your arm, or if you could like elbow somebody and that would, you know, cut them or at least do some damage. It was like hard bone. So I imagine like all these little bones and stuff that are on top, when the arm structure is moving, it can shift and slightly move. Again, Pablo's brushes are really awesome, and they give me a great foundation to just kind of work with. And sometimes, you know, if I can use them delicately, I can just get a whole section, like right here. This is another one of Pablo's amazing brushes, and I'm just trying it. You know, just it gives this really neat kind of striated, kind of ripped detail. I think that's really cool. And I like to go light with a stroke, not too deep, and then I just hit the number 1 to make it deeper. You can see I'm going in and out there. And just experiment. And because that's detail underneath the arm, I didn't want to put anything too aggressive in there, because I'm thinking it as a, if you were actually if this was your arm, you wouldn't want a bunch of stuff rubbing against your body. It would be uncomfortable. So that area should be relatively smooth, in my opinion. So that's why it's got these kind of, it's like stretched and ripped, like there's some kind of something behind it. Okay, enough about the inside of the arm. Now it looks like I'm working on the shoulder, obviously, and again, I found a nice structure here. I really like that look, and it kind of lends itself to the rest of the body. That detail, because this is a crucial. The shoulder is kind of a crucial part of the sculpt, because this is where it connects to the body. So you need to figure out how you're going to delineate that from, like, do you want it to blend into the shoulder that it's crammed into, or do you want it to kind of have a separate visual delineation? So I'm just constantly trying to experiment with what looks good, and I don't want the same texture on the whole shoulder. I want to give it some different looks, and this is, I think, where I was finding it. I keep zooming out. I like to solo it when I'm sculpting it, so it's its own isolated piece. But then you also have to remember, like I also have to remember when I do that, I have to unsolo it out so I can see the whole piece as one, because it's not just a single piece. But I'm liking the way that comes off the body. so far. Again, it looks like I went down to try to see if I could do anything with that smooth section, but it just wasn't working, and I didn't like that it any detail on there was just looking like it needed to go, so I didn't really do much on there. I tried, but it wasn't working for me. But I like this detail underneath the arm by the elbow. Again, another one of Pablo's brushes. And here, I have to apologize because I was looking for a certain tubing brush and I could not find it. So I think there's going to be quite a bit of me just looking for this stupid brush. I found it eventually, but I went through well, I have too many brushes. I think that's the problem. I just have too many damn brushes. I might have to edit this because this is driving me nuts looking at it again. Yeah, there was a certain tubing brush that I was looking at. I can't remember. IM kind of brush, and it wasn't lumped with all the rest of his brushes. Someday I should just edit out all my brushes. That should be a lesson to me, to just go in and select out the brushes that I don't really use or that aren't integral to my sculpting process. But I tend to just leave them all in there like a big bag of tricks, but then the tricks that I like to use get lost with the other tricks. Yeah, I think it took me a while to find this damn brush. But you'll get to see as I'm hunting for this stupid brush, me just use different brushes and try different things. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, just one stroke, and this is like a negative of of the bone structures. This almost like goes inward. So I think I gave up on looking for the brush I was wanting, and then I just went to doing something else. Which happens sometimes where I'm on a mission to do a certain thing, and then I can't figure it out, so I'll just move on to something else until I can figure it out later. So now I'm just defining structures here and really trying to make it pop a little better. Like that piece of wire is pushing the muscle in a little bit. Wow, I've been talking for 20 minutes. Can't believe it. I think this is the longest voiceover I've ever done. This particular brush just lays in some kind of crackly detail, and I like that over this structure here. And I think this arm is at a higher subdivision level, obviously. I forgot to mention that I did move up to, I'm probably at subdivision level 4 on this. Now it looks like I'm going to do some dynameshing. Oh, yeah, I found this is me trying to experiment with some of these, one of these other IM brushes here. That one was kind of cool. Still not the brushes I was looking for, but I kept trying. I know where they are now. Watching me hunt for them is kind of funny. There, I found it. That's what I was looking for the whole freaking time. Okay, hope that wasn't too painful. So this is a really cool brush because it basically just creates different tubes. And depending on the size of your brush, you know, the bigger or smaller your tube is. And I was just kind of having fun here. I wanted to put a piece of tubing in that area, but ultimately I think at the end of the day I decided I'm not going to, but as a side effect you get to look and see what all these tubes do, or how they render when you put them in there. I think I did eventually settle on one, and I definitely just experimenting with these, I was like, oh, I got something else I'm going to use this for sure. I really like this chain. I'm going to figure out some cool shit to do with that pretty soon, but I didn't want to use it here. That's the thing. Something I'd highly recommend is just looking at brush packs, because you know there's some amazing ZBrush brush packs out there that can do some wild, crazy shit really quick, and that's why I use ZBrush, just because it's so fucking fast. You know, it's really great. What would take me weeks to sculpt, you know, by hand, because I'm just not that fast of a physical sculptor, takes me days to sculpt in ZBrush. And once you get the UI, you know, once you get the user interface down and figure out the basics, and there's a lot to ZBrush that I don't know, but I know enough to do, you know, this, and this is all I care about. I'm not trying to make video games. I'm just trying to make sculpted figures that I can 3D print. And, you know, I've actually, one time I did do, for a movie, I sculpted a whole character and they did use it. I got sent to a place and then they took my model and animated it and stuff. So, I mean, which is cool. That was pretty cool. That I at least have the experience of doing that. Yeah, I really experimented here. And at the end of the day, none of it really was working because it was just too, that one I was kind of thinking was the closest to what I was envisioning, but it just, I didn't quite like it. So I think at the end I scrapped it, but it was there for a while. I think right here I'm pretty close to being done now. So thanks for bearing with me if you've watched this far. Seeing my techniques here. Yeah, I'm trying to position it just right. I separated it from the model and now I'm just messing with it. What I'll do is once I draw these brushes, I will separate them out, I'll go into my subtools to split to parts, and I'll split out that piece from the brush, and then I will divide that separate piece separately and then position it how I want. Exactly. That's how I like to use those brushes. I'm sure maybe there's a better way. I'm sure there probably is that I don't know of, but that's how I do it with those little IM parts. I think I was happy here, and I'm saving out, and I think we're done. So thanks for watching, and I hope you learned some stuff. There's the finished arm.